მოგესალმებით, თქვენ უყურებთ ქართლის სტუდიას, მე ჟურნალისტი ანა ბაქრაძე ვარ. აშშ-სა და საქართველოს შორის დიპლომატიური ურთიერთობების 30-წლიანი იუბილეს აღსანიშნავად ელჩი კელი დეგნანის შედაქართ ეწვია. ორდღიანი ვიზიტის ფარგლებში ის შეხვდა სხვადასხვა ორგანიზაციების წარმომადგენლებს, სკოლის რაიონული სასამართლოს მოსამართლეებს, გამყოფ ხაზთან მდებარე სოფლებს, დემოკრატიული სკოლის სამოქალაქო აქტივისტებს, მშვიდობის კორპუსის პარტნიორ ორგანიზაცია ბილიქს და ნატო ევროკავშირის საინფორმაციო ცენტრს. კელი დეგნანი დღეს ჩვენი გადაცემის სტუმარია, მოგესალმებით ქალბატონო კელი. საუბარს დავიწყებთ უკრაინის მოვლენებთან დაკავშირებით. ძალიან ბევრი ადამიანი გამოვიდა უკრაინის მხარდამჭერ აქციაზე, ბევრმა ორგანიზაციამ გაგზავნა ჰუმანიტარული ტვირთი, თუმცა საქართველოს ხელისუფლება აცხადებს, რომ არ შეუერთდება რუსეთის წინააღმდეგ დაწესებულ სანქციებს, რაზეც სალომე ზურაბიშვილმა განაცხადა, რომ არ ეთანხმება მთავრობის ამ პოზიციას და ის მსგავს განცხადებას არ გააკეთებდა. თქვენ რა განცხადებას ელოდით საქართველოს მთავრობისგან?
Well, thank you very much for letting me join you here today and for that very important question. I think all of our hearts and prayers are with the Ukrainian people as they fight back against this unprovoked and really brutal war that the Kremlin has unleashed against their neighbor. I know that it's particularly sensitive here in Gori, where the memories of the 2008 war here are still very fresh and something that you live with every day. We certainly welcome the important statements that the Georgian government has made and the votes that Georgia has made at the UN, at the OSCE, in other multilateral fora. Those are very, very important to send a unified message to Russia. And President Zurabishvili, as you said, has done an excellent job of representing Georgia and the Georgian people's position on this in international forums. I think the outpouring of support from the Georgian people at a very fundamental level has been so heartwarming to see. All of the humanitarian assistance that Georgians have donated out of their own pockets and out of their own houses and communities has been so important to show their brothers and sisters in Ukraine that Georgia does stand by Ukraine. So I think there's been a good show of support from Georgia. We expect all countries to comply with the international sanction regime. The reason why is because sanctions is a powerful tool to pressure Putin and the Kremlin to stop this war. And the more unity there is behind the sanctions regime, the more pressure there is and the stronger and more effective weapon sanctions can be to persuade and to force Mr. Putin to stop this war. And that's what we all want.
უკრაინის მოვლენებმა მეტად ცხადყო, რომ საქართველოში არიან ძალები, რომლებიც ხელს უშლიან ქვეყნის დასავლურ მისწრაფებებს, უფრო მეტად გააქტიურდნენ პრორუსული პარტიები. თქვენი შეფასებით არსებობს თუ არა საფრთხე იმისა, რომ ქვეყანა მოარითქვას დასავლურ კურსზე და გაუძლებს თუ არა ხელისუფლებამ მსგავს ზეწოლას. ამასთან ოპოზიცია ფიქრობს, რომ მთავრობა ისედაც პრორუსულია. თქვენ როგორ ფიქრობთ?
Well, that's a very important topic. I think we see in poll after poll how strong the Georgian people feel about pursuing that path to Europe. And in every poll, you see 80% of Georgians say they want to join the European Union. 75% say they want to join NATO. So the people of Georgia are very clear about the path that they want to follow. And I think that they are doing the work to get there, because there's a lot of hard work involved in meeting the standards and requirements to be part of the European Union or part of NATO. We are very concerned about these far-right extremist groups like Alt-Info or the conservative movement because they advocate violence, because they advocate more Russian military bases on Georgian soil. I think most Georgians feel there are already too many Russian military bases on Georgian soil right here in Skinvali or in Abkhazia. So to have a force here in Georgia that is feeding disinformation to a public that sometimes is confused and that you have Russian disinformation deliberately trying to create divisions within Georgian society, trying to confuse people. I think it's very dangerous. And what I have been very pleased to see is in places where, say, a conservative movement or info office is opening up, in some towns in Georgia, they have said, no, we don't want you. You don't represent Georgian values or the Georgians' future. So I think that's a strong expression of Georgia's, what the Georgian people want and believe. And what they want is democracy. What they want is more integration with the European Union. What they want is membership in NATO, because those are organizations based on shared values. Our shared values are a love of freedom, a love of independence, a love of family and faith and traditions. And I think anything that is trying to divide Georgians and create confusion, especially right now when Ukraine is under attack by Russia, is only going to benefit Russia. It's not going to help Georgia. Georgia needs to be unified right now.
მინდა გითხრათ, რომ რეგიონებში სამოქალაქო აქტივისტები და მედიის წარმომადგენლები თავს უსაფრთხოდ არ გრძნობენ და ეს ხდება არ მხოლოდ წინასაარჩევნო პერიოდში. როგორც წესი, პირველი დარტყმა ჟურნალისტებზე მოდის ხელისუფლების წარმომადგენლებისგან და ეგრეთ წოდებული კონსერვატული ჯგუფებისგან. ჟურნალისტებს გაუჩნდათ ფიზიკური არსებობის შიში. თქვენი აზრით, არსებობს თუ არა რაიმე ბერკეტი იმისა, რომ მედიის წარმომადგენლებმა და სამოქალაქო აქტივისტებმა თავი უსაფრთხოდ იგრძნო?
It's very, very important that the media feel safe in doing their jobs and feel able to go out. It's a difficult job anyway, as you know, but you need to know that the government is going to be playing its role in ensuring that freedom of the press is protected. It's one of the basic tenets of a democracy, and it's certainly in Georgia's constitution to protect and respect freedom of the media. So the government needs to do its role to make sure that journalists can do their jobs. Journalists need to go out and do their jobs responsibly and ethically, and that's how the public gets accurate information, gets the information they need in order to make informed decisions. We see in many countries what happens when you don't have a free media. You just need to look next door in Russia, where most of the journalists have left because they aren't protected by the government. They're not allowed to do their jobs and report accurately to the people. The Russian people don't have access to accurate information. They don't know what's going on in Ukraine because all they have is the information provided to them by the government, and that isn't accurate. That's disinformation, not real information. So you can see how a democracy breaks down without a free media that is protected in doing this very critical job that plays such an important role in any democracy.
ახსენეთ წინასაარჩევნო პერიოდი, რომელიც საკმაოდ აგრესიული ფონით გამოირჩევა, თუმცა ამის მიუხედავად ხელისუფლება ამტკიცებს, რომ ითვალისწინებს პარტნიორი ქვეყნების რეკომენდაციებს. თუმცა ადგილობრივი და საერთაშორისო დამკვირვებლების მხრიდან არჩევნებთან დაკავშირებით საკმაოდ მკაცრი შეფასებები კეთდება. თქვენ როგორ ფიქრობთ, როგორ ტარდება ქვეყანაში არჩევნები, რა რეკომენდაციები რჩება გაუთვალისწინებელი და ამჟამად რა საკითხებზე მუშაობთ მთავრობასთან?
The embassy sends out election observer teams for the elections as well. In fact, we just sent a team to Batumi for the election last weekend. So we get a sense of what's going on as well, what's working, what's not working. I think there was some good election reform that was adopted last year and the year before. So in some ways it's step-by-step improvement, nabij, but there is obviously still quite a bit of work to be done. The advantage of having groups like the OSCE come and do election observation is they provide that feedback of what's working and what's not. They don't come to criticize a country. They come to provide the information that will go into the next round of election reforms so that each election is an improvement on the last. if a government disregards the feedback that's provided by the observers, whether they're the domestic observers or the international observers, then they're missing the chance to make sure that each election is better than the last one. In a country that's only 30 years into independence, it's particularly important that Georgia is looking for every opportunity to improve the electoral process. Of course, there are things that are not going as well as they should. Of course, there are areas for improvement. And I think those are real opportunities for the parliament to work together, all the parties, to ensure that the election process is something that the citizens, that the voters can have confidence in, and that goes smoothly and that produces fair results that citizens can have confidence in.
რეგიონულ თემებში მომუშავე ჟურნალისტებს ყველაზე ხშირად გვიწევს ადგილობრივ თემებში მცხოვრებ ადამიანებთან ურთიერთობა და ამ დროს საკმაოდ სტრესული ან რუსული ნარატივის მოსმენა. ევროპა და ამერიკა ქართველობას გვართმევენ. ცოტა პოზიტიურად რომ დავასრულოთ საუბარი, რატომ არის ქვეყნისთვის მნიშვნელოვანი დასავლურ საზოგადოებაში ინტეგრაცია და არა რუსული მმართველობა?
Georgians already have an experience of Russian rule. Georgia's history is full of Russia's broken promises, violence, occupation, which is still the case. It was Russia that tried to take Georgia's language away from Georgia. It was Russia that tried to take the Georgian Orthodox Church away from Georgians. And it is Russia that has invaded your country and occupies 20% of your sovereign territory. So Georgians know very well what Russian rule means. And that is why we see such a strong desire and commitment from the Georgian people to be more closely integrated into Europe. That's why we see those high polling results supporting European Union membership. 80% of the population want to be part of the European Union. 75% want to be part of NATO. Many Georgians send their children to be educated in Europe or the UK or the United States because we have those shared values. Those values, as we were discussing before, are what bind us together, and I think they are such a part of Georgia's history anyway. This is not new for Georgia to love freedom, to want independence and fight for your independence, to respect human rights and diversity. This is Georgia. This has been your history for centuries. So it's natural for you to want to be part of Europe. That's where you've always been oriented. And I think the fact that the basis for that is these shared values. And it's a future that I think Georgia is already contributing to and building. Your economic ties with the European Union, with the United States, with the UK, those are increasing all the time. The tourists who are coming here before COVID and who I'm sure will be coming back this year and from now on, they want to come from Europe and the United States and learn more about your beautiful country. Right now I'm visiting Kartli because it's the 30th anniversary of diplomatic relations between Georgia and the United States. When I travel around Georgia and I see how much we've done together in the last 30 years, all over this country, to make the economy stronger, to make the country stronger, the Georgia Defense Forces, and the Coast Guard, Border Police, the Patrol Police, to make your democracy stronger, to make Parliament work better, to make the local government work better. I visited your regional court today and talked to the judges there. They are very hardworking, dedicated judges who are trying to help their communities and provide them with rule of law that's impartial. So I think Georgia's whole inclination and commitment is to Europe and a future that's based on those shared values of respect for human rights, democracy, and independence and liberty. That's Georgia, and that's what the United States loves about Georgia. We have that in common.
მადლობას გიხდით რომ იყავით ჩვენი სტუდიის სტუმარი. დიდი მადლობა.
ძალიან დიდი მადლობა. Thank you.